Good morning, homeroom. Today I'm reading chapter 25 from our book. This chapter is titled The Getaway. Margaret, Agent Rivers, and I were about 25 feet from the front door when Nikolai Nevrescu saw me. The look of recognition and surprise on his face was unmistakable. And worst of all, there was no way I could beat him to the door. He knows me, I said under my breath to Rivers. He just spotted me. He may know you, said Marcus, but he doesn't know me. You two do not stop walking until you make it to the sidewalk. Kayla's waiting for you. Kayla, who taught me self-defense at Quantico? She'll be off to the right when you get through the door, he said. She's standing on the line that marks the end of their jurisdiction. Do not stop walking until you reach her. Now Nevrescu was headed right to us, but there was no way to know if he could tell that Rivers was with us or not. What about you? I asked Rivers nervously. What are you going to do? He didn't answer. Instead, he just resumed playing the role of the very excitable middle school teacher. Mr. Nevrescu, he said, as he cut him off and blocked him from reaching us. My name is Mike Evans, and I'm the art teacher at North Bethesda Middle. I just want to say that I am a huge fan of your scholarship program. I just think it's amazing that you've helped so many deserving kids. He kept talking, but I could no longer make out what he was saying once we got to the door. Go, 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 said Margaret, as she took me by the arm and hurried me along. I turned to look back over my shoulder, but couldn't see Rivers in the crush of people, and had no way of knowing if his act was working or if things were going to go very wrong for him. Margaret kept pulling me along. Then another voice called out, Wait 1 second, come back. It was the bodyguard Nevrescu had signaled inside the embassy. He was about 6'6", so his strides were long, and he was catching up. Sorry, I called back to him, picking up the pace, but we're running late. I looked to the right and saw Kayla, all bright and smiley. She had on jeans, a tank top, and a pair of boots that maybe nudged her over the 5-foot mark. There's our rescue team, I told Margaret. Seriously? She replied uneasily. The kindergarten teacher? Don't be fooled, I assured her. Come back or else, the bodyguard demanded as he closed the gap some more. Kayla was careful to stay beyond the sidewalk, but she reached out and signaled us to hurry. Come on, you two, she said in her cheery voice. Right over here. We reached her just as the bodyguard reached us, and she swept us with her arm so that we were directly behind her. You two need to come back, he said, ignoring her. It's important. Actually, Kayla said, they don't need to do anything. You see, they're with me. The man laughed. And who are you, their babysitter? You know, I did babysit back home in Pennsylvania, she said as she took his hand. It looked as if she was going to shake it, but instead she started to twist his pinky and ring fingers and practically brought him to his knees. But today I'm not a babysitter. Today I'm your worst nightmare. The amazing thing was that even as she was physically destroying and taunting him, she kept talking in that upbeat kindergarten teacher's voice. She continued to twist his fingers, and he grimaced in agony, a line of sweat forming on his forehead. Now, I'm wearing my favorite boots, she continued, and I don't want to mess them up. But if you so much as make another move toward either of these children, I will not hesitate to use them in ways that you will find excruciatingly uncomfortable. Just then a black SUV pulled up next to us. You two get in, Kayla instructed us without turning her attention from the bodyguard. I opened the door, and we both jumped in. Once we were safely inside, Kayla finished her conversation with the man. So do we understand each other? He didn't respond at first, which caused her to twist the fingers even more. Yes, he said, we understand each other. She flashed a smile and said, It was a pleasure to meet you. She let go, and he pulled back his injured hand and clutched it with the other. Kayla literally had to jump up to get into the back seat with us. Once she did, she slammed the door shut, the power locks closed, and the SUV was moving down Massachusetts Avenue. She looked over at Margaret and smiled. Hey, I'm Kayla. Hi, Margaret said. You're my hero. Kayla laughed. You'd be surprised, but I get that a lot. As we drove away, I turned around in my seat so I could look out the rear window to see if Agent Rivers had made it out of the embassy. I didn't see any sign of him. We have a covert asset, Kayla instructed the agent behind the wheel. Drive accordingly. Roger that, said the driver as he picked up the pace. We stayed on Massachusetts Avenue, which is also known as Embassy Row, for about a mile. Then we started making some sudden turns onto little side roads. I could feel car sickness coming on. He's just making sure no one's following, explained Kayla. That's good, I said. That man you destroyed, is he going to cause trouble for you? She laughed. He is going to go to his grave without admitting to anybody that he was outmuscled by little old me. Margaret laughed. Kayla looked at me and shook her head. Florian, what were you thinking? I don't know, I admitted. You are unbelievably smart, she said. This was anything but. I know. That was the entire lecture I got from her, but I was certain there were more to come. Are we clear? She asked the driver. Absolutely, he replied. No one's following. Great. Take us to the Washington field office. I'm stationed there and not at the Hoover, she said to me. I'm worried about Agent Rivers, I said. I didn't see him come out of the embassy. Yeah, well, he was sure worried about you, she replied. Thank goodness you had enough sense to send a distress signal. Actually, that was Margaret, I said. Thanks, Margaret. It's okay, she said. That's what best friends do, right? 10 minutes later, we pulled into the underground garage at the FBI Washington field office. It was large and nondescript, about a half mile from the Hoover building. A few minutes after we got there, another car pulled up beside us. It was a maroon hybrid. Agent Rivers was behind the wheel. I let out a huge sigh of relief. Looks like your ride is here, she said, so it's time for me to say goodbye. You two stay out of trouble, okay? Okay, I said. Definitely, said Margaret. And Florian, she said, looking me right in the eyes, that big brain of yours, don't forget to use it. We got out of the SUV and Agent Rivers came right to me. Florian, I can't believe you did that, he said. I'm so angry with you. I know, I replied, but we're going to deal with the anger a little later. That's when he wrapped me up in a hug. It was tight and comforting and long. I'm sorry, Agent Rivers, I said, looking up at him. You call me Marcus. I nodded. I'm sorry, Marcus. And that's the end of chapter 25. Have a good day.